The crystalline ships of the Zeltharian Concordat floated in the darkness of space like beautiful glass sculptures. Inside the largest vessel, Ambassador Velnar stood before the Council of Ascendants. His transparent body glowed with excitement as he showed them images of a new species. "They call themselves humans," he said. "They come from a small blue planet in the Sol system. They have only just started traveling to other stars." The 7 Ascendants looked at the information without much interest. They had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. Their ships could disappear and reappear anywhere they wanted. Their minds could destroy entire cities just by thinking about it. No species had ever defeated them. Council leader Zar then watched old human television broadcasts on the screen. He saw primitive news shows, simple entertainment programs, and basic mathematical signals floating through space. "They still use atomic power," one Ascendant said with a laugh. "And chemical rockets. How cute." "They have small colonies on 3 nearby planets," Velnar explained. "They built them in the last 50 years. Their ships are just metal boxes with fusion engines. Nothing special." Zar then stood up from his floating throne. "Send 3 phase ships. That should be enough. Tell the humans they must serve us or die. Simple." "Yes, Council leader." 2 weeks later, the 3 Zeltharian ships appeared near New Terra, a human colony world. The planet looked peaceful below them, covered in farms and small mining towns. Simple space stations orbited slowly around it. Captain Rinvol looked at the human structures with disgust. They were so basic. Metal cylinders spinning to create fake gravity. Solar panels for power. These humans didn't even know how to create energy from nothing. "Contact their leaders," he ordered. A video screen opened. A human woman appeared. She wore a simple uniform. Her name tag said Governor Park Hannah. "This is New Terra Colony," she said calmly. "I'm Governor Park. What can I do for you?" Rinvol made his body transform into pure light. This trick usually made primitive aliens scream in terror and surrender immediately. "I am Captain Rinvol of the Zeltharian Concordat," he announced. "You have entered our territory. You must stop all your colonies immediately. Your technology, your resources, and your people now belong to us. If you resist, you will die. You have 1 day to agree." Governor Park didn't look scared at all. She glanced at something to her side, then looked back at him. "I see. Captain, I'm sorry, but I can't make that decision. You need to talk to our military." Rinvol felt confused. Every other species either attacked right away or begged for mercy. This calm response was strange. "Your military doesn't matter. We know how weak you are. Surrender now or—" "I understand," Park interrupted. "But this is a civilian colony. Military matters are handled by the United Earth Colonial Navy. I already sent them your message. They're coming. Please wait." The screen went black. Rinvol stared at the empty screen in shock. In 10,000 years, no primitive species had ever asked them to wait. "Sir," his officer called out. "Something is coming. Space itself is breaking open." "Just one of their cargo ships," Rinvol said. "These humans don't understand who they're dealing with." His sensors started screaming warnings. This wasn't like the simple human travel they had seen before. Reality itself was tearing apart. A huge wound in space grew bigger and bigger. "Sir, the size readings can't be right. It says." The tear ripped wide open. The human warship called Righteous Fury came through like a falling mountain. Rinvol's mind nearly broke from shock. The ship was 47 kilometers long. It was covered in thick armor and hundreds of weapons. Massive engines burned with incredible power. It didn't slip quietly through dimensions like Zeltharian ships. It simply existed, huge and terrifying. 2 more tiers opened. 2 more massive warships appeared, surrounding the Zeltharian vessels completely. For the first time in 700 years, Captain Rinvol felt true fear. A new transmission opened. A human male appeared on screen. He had gray hair and cold, hard eyes. His dark blue uniform showed high rank. This was a warrior. "I'm Admiral Kong Teho, United Earth Colonial Navy," he said. "You threatened our colony. That was a mistake." Rinvol tried to look confident. He activated his ship's dimension phasing ability. His vessel started flickering in and out of normal space. This always terrified other species. "Your primitive ships can't hurt us," he said. "We exist between dimensions. Your weapons can't even touch." One human ship fired. It wasn't a laser or a missile. It was just a metal rod thrown incredibly fast. It crossed the space between them in a fraction of a second. The Zeltharian shields did nothing. The rod punched a perfect 3-meter hole through the ship. Alarms rang everywhere. Air rushed out into space. Rinvol's crew ran to fix the damage. That was a warning, Admiral Kong said, his face showing no emotion. The next shot destroys your reactor. You have 30 seconds to turn off your weapons. Rinvol's mind raced. This was impossible. These primitives shouldn't have weapons that could hit dimension-shifting ships. They shouldn't know tactics like this. They shouldn't. 20 seconds. Sir, we should run, his officer said. Emergency phase jump now. If you try to jump dimensions you'll die, Kong interrupted. He was somehow listening to their private communications. We put quantum lock mines all around you. If you try to shift dimensions your ships will explode. 10 seconds. It had to be a lie. These humans couldn't have technology that advanced. They couldn't possibly. Rinvol looked at the hole in his ship. He looked at the massive warships surrounding him. He looked at the admiral who spoke with complete confidence. It wasn't a lie. Stop all weapons, he ordered his crew. Admiral Kong nodded. Smart choice. Now we'll talk about territory and respect. And Captain, you should know something about humanity. We've been preparing for this, for meeting hostile aliens, for 200 years. Ever since we first looked at the stars and wondered if we were alone. Kong leaned closer to the camera. You thought your technology made you gods. We thought we'd meet something worse than gods. So we prepared. Welcome to human space, Captain. You'll find we're full of surprises. The screen went dark. Far away in the Zeltharian command nexus, Velnar's emergency message reached the council. The fleet has been stopped. The humans were ready for us. They have weapons we've never seen. Defenses we never imagined. Council leader, we need our entire military. These humans aren't primitives. There's something completely different. Tsar then stood up from his throne, trying to understand this impossible news. What are they then? Velnar's body flickered with fear. I think they're predators who have been practicing to hunt gods. Admiral Kong Teho stood on the bridge of the Righteous Fury, watching the Zeltharian ships carefully. His crew worked quietly at their stations. Everyone knew what was at stake. This was humanity's first real test against an alien empire. Sir, the aliens are powering down their weapons, reported Lieutenant Kim Yunji from the tactical station. Their shields are still active, but they're not moving. Good, Kong said. Prepare a boarding shuttle. I want to see these so-called gods up close. On the Zeltharian command ship, Captain Rinvol tried to understand what had just happened. His vessel had a hole through it. His weapons were useless. His dimensional technology, which had conquered 100 worlds, meant nothing to these humans. How did they do it? He asked his science officer. How did their simple kinetic weapon penetrate our phase shields? The officer studied the damage readings. Sir, their projectile wasn't simple. It was moving at 0.27 light speed. The kinetic energy was enormous. But more than that, the metal itself was treated with some kind of quantum stabilization field. It remained locked in normal space even as it passed through our dimensional barriers. Rinvol felt sick. They designed weapons specifically to counter phase technology. But how? They've never encountered us before. Perhaps, the science officer said quietly, they designed weapons to counter every possible technology they could imagine. An hour later, Admiral Kong stepped onto the Zeltharian bridge. He wore a simple pressure suit with his uniform underneath. 2 Marines accompanied him, their weapons ready but lowered. Rinvol looked at the human admiral. He had expected a monster, a savage creature. Instead, he saw an older man with tired eyes and a calm expression. A man who looked like he had seen too much war already. Captain Rinvol, Kong said through his translator. Let's talk. They moved to a private chamber. Kong sat down without asking permission. Rinvol remained standing, trying to maintain some dignity. Your council gave you bad information, Kong began. They told you we were primitives. Easy to conquer. They were wrong. Clearly, Rinvol said bitterly. But I don't understand. Your technology is still developing. Your ships use fusion engines. You don't have true energy weapons. You can't manipulate dimensions or read minds. How did you defeat us so easily? Kong smiled slightly. That's the interesting part, Captain. You're right. Our technology isn't as advanced as yours in many ways. But we've been preparing for this moment for a very long time. He pulled out a small tablet and showed Rinvol images. Pictures of human scientists, engineers, and military strategists. Massive research facilities. Weapons testing ranges. Computer simulations. 200 years ago we made first contact with an alien probe, Kong explained. It was automated, not intelligent. But it proved we weren't alone. So we asked ourselves a question. What if the aliens we meet are hostile? What if they're more advanced than us? So you prepared for war, Rinvol said. We prepared for every possibility, Kong corrected. We studied every theoretical physics principle we could discover. Dimensional shifting, psychic manipulation, gravity weapons, energy to matter conversion, time dilation. We couldn't build all these technologies ourselves yet, but we could design defenses against them. Rinvol began to understand. You created countermeasures for threats you had never seen. Exactly. Your phase shields? We theorized they might exist 30 years ago. We designed quantum-stabilized kinetic weapons to counter them. Your psychic abilities? We separated our crew into isolated compartments so you can't affect everyone at once. Your dimensional jump drives? We invented quantum lock mines that would disrupt the dimensional membrane. Kong leaned forward. Captain, your people became arrogant because you always won. You fought enemies who were weaker than you. You never had to adapt or innovate. You just used the same tricks over and over. And humans? Rinvol asked. Humans have been fighting each other for thousands of years, Kong said. We know how to adapt. We know how to prepare for enemies we've never met. We know how to be paranoid. Rinvol felt something he rarely experienced, respect for another species. What happens now, Admiral? Now you take a message back to your council, Kong said. Tell them that human space is off limits. We don't want war. We don't want to conquer anyone. We just want to be left alone. But if they attack us again... He paused. We have 40 ships like the Righteous Fury. Each one is designed to fight enemies more powerful than themselves. Tell your council to think carefully before they test us again. Rinvol nodded slowly. They won't listen. The council has ruled for 10,000 years. They've never retreated from anyone. They'll send the Grand Armada. How many ships? Hundreds. With weapons that can tear apart planets. Psychic screamers that can shatter minds across entire star systems. Reality-bending bombs that can collapse suns. Kang's expression didn't change. Then we'll be ready for hundreds. Captain, tell me something. In your 10,000 years of conquest, how many species fought back effectively? None, Rinvol admitted. Then your people have forgotten how to fight a real war, Kong said. They've forgotten that war isn't about having the best weapons. It's about adapting faster than your enemy. It's about being willing to do whatever it takes to survive. He stood up to leave. One more thing, Captain. You called yourselves gods. But gods don't bleed. Gods don't feel fear. You do. Remember that when you report to your council. You're not gods. You're just another species that got lucky for a while. And luck always runs out. After the humans left, Rinvol prepared his report. He knew the council wouldn't believe him. They would send their armada. They would expect an easy victory. And they would learn the same lesson he had learned today. The humans were waiting. They had always been waiting. And they were very, very good at turning fear into preparation. As his damaged ship limped back towards Eltharian space, Rinvol wondered if his people had finally met something they couldn't defeat. Not because humans were stronger, but because humans had spent 2 centuries preparing to fight gods. And when you spend that long preparing, you get very good at it. Council leader Zar then listened to Captain Rinvol's report in complete silence. The other 6 ascendants sat motionless in their floating thrones. No one spoke for a long time. Impossible, one ascendant finally said. 3 phase ships defeated by primitives? Not primitives, Rinvol said quietly. That's what I'm trying to tell you. They knew exactly how to fight us. They had weapons designed specifically to counter our technology. Zarthan's ancient mind worked through the problem. In 10,000 years, the Concordat had never faced real resistance. Species either surrendered immediately or died quickly. This was different. How many warships do the humans have? He asked. At least 40 of their Dreadnought-class vessels, Rinvol replied. Each one is massive, heavily armed, and designed for one purpose, killing enemies more advanced than themselves. Another ascendant laughed. 40 ships against our Grand Armada? We have 300 phase ships. We have weapons that can destroy stars. We have psychic screamers that can kill billions with a single pulse. 40 human ships are nothing. Send the entire armada, Zarthan ordered. We will show these humans what true power means. We will burn their colonies and enslave their home world. They need to learn their place in our empire. Council leader, Rinvol tried again. I strongly advise caution. These humans are dismissed, Captain, Zarthan said coldly. You lost 3 ships because you underestimated them. We won't make the same mistake. We will crush them completely. 4 weeks later, the Grand Armada arrived at the edge of human core space. 300 crystalline warships appeared in perfect formation. They had never deployed even half this force before. Nothing in the galaxy could stand against them. Fleet Commander Thaxaron stood on his command ship, studying the human territory ahead. The star systems looked strangely quiet. A few orbital stations. Some mining operations. No obvious defenses. "This will be easy," he told his officers. "Primitive humans hiding in their little colonies. They'll see our armada and surrender without a fight." His tactical officer looked worried. "Sir, I'm detecting unusual readings throughout this region. There are millions of small objects floating in the space around us." "Debris," Thaxaron dismissed. "Space junk from their mining. Ignore it." The armada moved forward confidently. They passed the first asteroid field. Then the second. Everything seemed quiet. Then space exploded with violence. The debris activated. Millions of autonomous defense drones powered up simultaneously. Each one was small, barely larger than a human, but each carried powerful missiles and railguns. They swarmed the Zeltharian ships like angry insects. "Evasive maneuvers," Thaxaron shouted. "Phase shift now." Some ships managed to shift into dimensional space. But the humans had planned for that too. Hidden quantum lock mines detonated, collapsing the dimensional pockets. Ships that tried to phase were torn apart by competing realities. Then the minefields activated. Gravitational bombs created crushing forces that yanked ships off course. Electromagnetic pulse weapons fried Zeltharian sensors. Nuclear mines filled space with deadly radiation. "Where are their warships?" an officer screamed. "We're being destroyed by automated defenses." "There." Another officer pointed at the tactical display. 40 human dreadnoughts emerged from behind a moon. They had been waiting. Watching. Letting the Zeltharian armada walk into a carefully prepared kill zone. Admiral Kong Teho watched the battle from the Bridge of Righteous Fury. His face showed no emotion. Around him, his crew worked with practiced efficiency. "All ships, execute attack pattern Delta 7, he ordered calmly. "Target their command vessels first. Fire at will." The human warships opened fire. Railguns threw tungsten rods at impossible speeds. Missile pods launched thousands of smart weapons. Laser batteries carved through crystalline hulls. Each shot was precise, calculated, devastating. The Zeltharian psychic screamers activated, sending waves of mental agony toward the human fleet. But the humans had prepared for this too. Each warship had its crew separated into dozens of isolated compartments. The psychic attack could only affect small groups at a time. Not enough to disable entire ships. "Their psychic weapons are useless," Lieutenant Yunji reported. "Our isolation protocols are working perfectly." "Good," Kong said. "Continue firing. Don't let them regroup." Commander Thaxaron couldn't believe what was happening. His mighty armada was being torn apart. Ships exploded constantly. Dimensional jumps failed. Psychic weapons accomplished nothing. The humans were everywhere, coordinated, relentless. "Sir, we've lost over 200 ships," his officer reported. "We need to retreat." "No." Thaxaron refused to accept defeat. "We are the Concordat. We don't run from primitives. All ships, deploy the reality-warping bombs. Tear apart their space itself." The remaining ships launched their most powerful weapons. Bombs that could unravel the fabric of reality. Devices that had destroyed entire civilizations. The humans shot them out of space before they could detonate. "They anticipated even that," an officer whispered in horror. After 14 hours of continuous battle, only 13 Zeltharian ships remained functional. 300 had come. Most were now debris floating in space. The survivors jumped away in panic, abandoning the dead. Admiral Kong watched them flee. "Don't pursue," he ordered. "Let them go. Let them tell their council what happened here." Lieutenant Kim Doyen looked at the admiral. "Sir, we only lost 3 ships. 3 against 300. How did we win so easily?" Kong turned from the window. "Because they fought the war they wanted to fight. We fought the war we trained for. They expected their advanced technology to win automatically. We expected them to have advanced technology and planned accordingly." He pulled up tactical data on his screen. Every weapon they used we had studied and created defenses for. Every tactic they tried we had simulated 1,000 times. They relied on power. We relied on preparation. "What happens now?" Doyen asked. "Now we wait," Kong said. "Their council will have to make a choice. Accept that they can't defeat us or keep trying until we destroy them completely. Either way humanity will survive. That's all that matters." In the medical bay, Captain Rinvol recovered from his injuries. He had been brought from his damaged ship weeks ago. Admiral Kong visited him personally. Your council didn't listen, Kong said. Rinvol nodded weakly. They never listen. 10,000 years of victory made them blind. Will they try again? I don't know, Rinvol admitted. The Concordat has never lost like this. Never. They don't know how to process defeat. Kong sat down beside the alien's bed. Captain, I'll tell you something. Humans have lost many times in our history. We've been defeated, enslaved, nearly exterminated. We know what failure feels like. And we learned something important from it. What? Rinvol asked. That survival matters more than pride, Kong said. Your people need to learn that lesson. Fast. Because next time they attack us, we won't be so merciful. 6 months passed after the devastating battle. The Zeltharian Council sat in emergency session for weeks. They had lost 287 ships. Their Grand Armada, undefeated for 10,000 years, had been crushed by a species barely 2 centuries into space travel. Council leader Tsar then finally accepted the truth. The Concordat could not defeat humanity through force. Perhaps there was another way. We will send a diplomatic vessel, he announced. We will learn about these humans. Understand them. Perhaps find a weakness we can exploit later. Ambassador Velnar volunteered for the mission. He had been the first to discover humanity. Now he would be the first to truly meet them in peace. His small ship approached Earth's orbital station slowly, broadcasting peaceful intentions constantly. Human defense platforms tracked him but didn't fire. Eventually he received permission to dock. Admiral Kong met him personally at the airlock. The human looked older now, more tired. War did that to people. Ambassador Velnar, Kong said. Welcome to Earth. I promise you'll leave safely, regardless of what happens during your visit. Thank you, Admiral, Velnar said. His translator made his words sound humble. I come to learn, not to threaten. Kong took him on a tour of Earth's orbital stations first. Then down to the planet's surface. Velnar expected to see military bases and weapon factories. Instead, Kong showed him museums. This is the Human History Museum, Kong explained as they walked through enormous halls. I want you to understand who we are. Velnar saw images of ancient human wars. Primitive tribes fighting with stones and spears. Medieval armies clashing with swords. Industrial age soldiers dying in trenches. Nuclear weapons destroying entire cities in seconds. You fought each other constantly, Velnar observed. Yes, Kong said. For thousands of years humans killed humans. We nearly destroyed ourselves dozens of times. Plagues, wars, environmental collapse. We came very close to extinction several times. They stopped at a display showing Earth's near destruction during the climate wars of 2087. Billions had died. Entire nations had vanished. Why show me this? Velnar asked. This makes humans look weak, not strong. Kong smiled sadly. Because this is why we're strong, Ambassador. We learned from every disaster. Every war taught us something. Every near extinction made us more careful, more prepared. Your people became arrogant because you always won. We became paranoid because we almost lost everything. The next display showed humanity's expansion into space. But unlike Zeltharian history, which showed glorious conquest, human history showed cautious preparation. We didn't rush into the galaxy celebrating, Kong explained. We crept out slowly, constantly afraid of what we might find. Every colony we built was also a fortress. Every civilian ship carried hidden weapons. Every research station studied alien threat scenarios. Velnar began to understand. You never stopped preparing for the worst. Never, Kong confirmed. Hope for peace, prepare for war. That's humanity's doctrine. We hope to find friendly aliens. We prepared to fight hostile gods. That evening Velnar was shown human entertainment. Movies about alien invasions. Books about galactic wars. Video games where humans fought impossible odds. Every story, every piece of culture reflected the same theme. Be ready for anything. Your entire civilization is built around paranoia, Velnar said almost admiringly. Built around survival, Kong corrected. There's a difference. The next day everything changed. A human research vessel returned to Earth with emergency news. They had found something in deep space. Something ancient and terrifying. Velnar was brought to the military briefing room. Admiral Kong stood before a holographic display showing a massive alien structure. It was a warship, but not like anything either species had seen before. We found it dormant near the galactic rim, explained Dr. Choi Sora, a human scientist. It's been sleeping for approximately 100,000 years. Our scans accidentally activated it. The hologram showed the alien ship powering up. It was enormous, easily 10 times the size of a human dreadnought. Its hull was covered in weapons that made both human and Zeltharian technology look primitive. What is it? Velnar whispered. We call it an automated dreadnought, Dr. Choi said. Our analysis suggests it was built by an ancient civilization that died long ago. Its programming is simple. Eliminate any spacefaring species that reaches a certain technological threshold. She pulled up more data. We found evidence of 47 extinct civilizations in this region of space. All of them disappeared suddenly after reaching space travel capability. We believe these dreadnoughts are the reason. How many of these machines exist? Kong asked. Our deep space sensors have detected at least 2,000 dormant signatures across the galaxy, Dr. Choi replied. And this one just sent an activation signal to the others. The room fell silent. Both humans and Zeltharians understood what this meant. Velnar looked at Admiral Kong. Our species can't fight these machines alone. Neither can ours, Kong admitted. Ambassador, I have a proposal. The Concordat and humanity have been enemies for less than a year. But these dreadnoughts have been killing civilizations for 100,000 years. They're the real threat. An alliance? Velnar asked. A temporary one at least, Kong said. We share all our technology. We combine our strengths. Zeltharian advanced sciences with human tactical doctrine. Your dimensional technology with our kinetic weapons. Your psychic abilities with our adaptive warfare. Velnar considered this. The Council would resist. They hated humans now. But the alternative was extinction. I will recommend this to the Council, he said. But I warn you, Admiral, many ascendants would rather die than work with humans. Kong nodded. Then tell them this. Pride is a luxury only the living can afford. The dead don't get to be proud. Ask them which they'd rather be. On the holographic display, the ancient dreadnought began moving. Its weapons charged. Somewhere in deep space, 2,000 more machines were waking up. The war between gods and humans was over. The war for survival was about to begin. And this time, neither species could win alone. Velnar watched the dreadnought's image and felt something he had never experienced before: humility. The Zeltharians had thought themselves the pinnacle of galactic civilization. The humans had thought themselves clever and prepared. Both species were about to learn they were children playing with toys compared to what the ancient galaxy could produce. When do we begin? Velnar asked. Immediately, Kong said. These machines are coming. And they won't negotiate. They won't surrender. They'll just keep killing until nothing remains. He extended his hand to the Zeltharian ambassador. So what do you say, Velnar? Can gods and humans work together? Velnar looked at the offered hand. Then at the deadly machine on the display. Then back at Kang's determined face. He took the hand. Let's find out. 16 months later, the galaxy had changed completely. The Zeltharian-Human Alliance controlled a defensive line across 40 star systems. Massive fortifications floated in space. Combined fleets patrolled constantly. And 12 other species, awakened to the ancient threat, had joined the fight. Admiral Kong stood in the Alliance war room on the space station called Unity. Around him, officers from 14 different species worked together. Velnar stood beside him, now a full military advisor to the Alliance. How long until they arrive? Kong asked. Lieutenant Yunji checked her display. 3 weeks, sir. Our deep space sensors show 2,000 dreadnoughts moving toward the defensive line. They're traveling in perfect formation. No communication. No hesitation. Just coming to kill us. Velnar's form flickered with worry. We've assembled 8,000 ships. The largest military force in recorded history. But these ancient machines have exterminated 47 civilizations. What if it's not enough? It has to be enough, Kong said quietly. Because there's nowhere left to run. Over the past year, the Alliance had learned terrifying truths about the dreadnoughts. They were created by a peaceful civilization called the Architects, who had died out 500,000 years ago. The Architects had been kind and advanced, but they feared what might come after them. What if the next dominant species was cruel? What if they became conquerors? So the Architects built the dreadnoughts as a failsafe. Any species that reached advanced space travel would be eliminated. Better to keep the galaxy empty than risk another empire of tyrants. The irony was crushing. A peaceful species had created the galaxy's most efficient killing machines. They're afraid of species like the Concordat used to be, Kong had told Velnar months ago. Species that think they're gods. That conquer and enslave. The architects wanted to prevent that, so they created something worse. Now those machines were coming, and the Alliance had to stop them or die trying. The human-Zeltharian cooperation had produced incredible results. Zeltharian scientists had upgraded human weapons with dimensional phasing technology. Human engineers had reinforced Zeltharian ships with quantum-locked armor. The psychic species in the Alliance learned human tactical doctrine. The warrior species learned Zeltharian energy manipulation. But would it be enough? 3 weeks passed too quickly. The Dreadnought fleet arrived exactly on schedule. 2,000 ancient warships emerged from faster-than-light travel in perfect synchronization. Each one was a masterpiece of engineering, bristling with weapons humanity and the Concordat could barely understand. All ships to battle stations, Kong ordered. Remember the plan. We hit them with everything at once. Don't give them time to adapt. The battle began with a massive coordinated strike. 8,000 Alliance ships fired simultaneously. Railguns, energy weapons, missiles, dimensional bombs, psychic attacks. Everything the galaxy could produce thrown at the enemy all at once. 600 dreadnoughts were destroyed in the first minute. The Alliance crews cheered. Then the dreadnoughts adapted. Their shields reconfigured. Their armor plating shifted. Their weapons calibrated to Alliance frequencies. The ancient machines had been fighting and learning for 100,000 years. They knew how to respond to any attack. The second wave of Alliance attacks was less effective. The third wave barely scratched them. By the fourth wave, the dreadnoughts were advancing steadily, destroying Alliance ships with cold efficiency. We're losing, Velnar said, watching the tactical display with horror. We've already lost 600 ships. They've only lost 900. They're going to win. Kang's jaw tightened. Then we try something they've never seen before. He activated fleet-wide communication. All Zeltharian psychics, link with all human tactical officers. Now. This was dangerous. Humans had no natural psychic ability, which had protected them from psychic attacks. But Zeltharian psychics could create temporary mental bridges, connecting minds together. Across the fleet, Zeltharian psychics like Velnar linked with human officers. Suddenly, thousands of brilliant tactical minds were working as one. Human creativity, human paranoia, human adaptability, all connected through Zeltharian psychic networks. It was like a living computer. The Alliance fleet began moving as a single organism, adapting and changing tactics faster than the dreadnoughts could process. They're slowing down. Yunji reported. The dreadnoughts can't predict our movements anymore. We're changing too fast. The tide of battle shifted. Alliance ships used tactics that had never existed before, created in real time by thousands of connected minds. They combined Zeltharian dimensional jumps with human kinetic weapons. They used psychic illusions to disguise missile attacks. They sacrificed damaged ships in suicide runs that opened gaps in dreadnought formations. But the cost was terrible. Alliance ships died by the hundreds. Entire species lost all their vessels. The space around the defensive line became a graveyard of metal and crystal. Admiral Kong made a decision. Lieutenant Park Nari, prepare the Righteous Fury for close assault. We're going inside their command ship. Sir, that's suicide. Nari protested. Maybe, Kong said. But if we can destroy their central coordination system, the rest might become disorganized. It's worth the risk. Velnar stepped forward. I'm coming with you, Admiral. My people's phase technology can get your ship through their shields. You'll die, Kong said simply. Then I'll die stopping the genocide of civilizations, Velnar replied. That's better than living as the species that thought itself a god. 20 minutes later, the Righteous Fury made its attack run. Zeltharian phase generators created a dimensional bubble around the massive human warship. It slipped through reality itself, appearing inside the dreadnought command vessel's shields. Kong and a team of Marines boarded the ancient ship. Inside they found something heartbreaking, a message from the architects. To whoever finds this, the ancient recording said, we created these machines to protect the galaxy from tyrants. If you're seeing this, you've become strong enough to threaten others. Please forgive us. We were afraid of creating another empire of suffering. We chose extinction over risk. Kong looked at the message with sad eyes. They were so afraid of evil they became evil themselves. He planted explosive charges throughout the control center. Let's finish this. The Righteous Fury escaped seconds before the explosions tore the command ship apart. Without central coordination, the remaining dreadnoughts became confused. They started attacking each other. The Alliance fleet pressed the advantage, destroying the confused machines one by one. After 36 hours of continuous battle, The last dreadnought was destroyed. The Alliance had won. But the cost was enormous. Of 8,000 ships, only 1,500 survived. Millions had died. On Unity Station, Kong and Velnar stood together, looking at the debris field through the viewing window. "We thought we knew what we'd find in the stars," Velnar said quietly. "We were both wrong," Kong replied. "Your people thought they'd find servants. My people thought we'd find enemies. Instead, we found the truth." "What truth?" "That the galaxy is vast and strange and terrible," Kong said. "That assuming you're the strongest is the fastest way to die. That preparing for the worst is the only way to survive. And that sometimes even gods need help." Velnar's form pulsed with something like a smile. "The Concordat will never be the same after this. We learned humility the hard way." "Good," Kong said. "Humility keeps you alive. Pride gets you killed." They signed the Covenant of Vigilance the next day. 14 species promised to watch the galaxy together. To stay prepared. To never assume they knew everything. To remain humble. Because somewhere in the vast darkness of space, something else was watching. Something neither gods nor humans had discovered yet. And when it came, they would need to be ready. Together.